Hello everyone. Thank you so much. तपाईहरु आफ्नो स्केड्युलबाट टाइम निकालेर यहाँ आज हाम्रो इभेन्टमा आइदिनुभयो. सो आजको प्रो इभेन्ट चाहिँ लेट्स गेट टुगेदर भन्ने इभेन्ट छ अनि यो चाहिँ अर्गनाइज्ड बाइ NSCSP IT ConneXion. सो हामी चाहिँ आज बेसिक फाउन्डेसन अफ गिट and how getting familiarized with GitHub and which will help us build a portfolio. So before that, going any further, I'll ask Vijay for a quick prayer.
For prayers. Father God, we thank you for this time. Judo Parmeshwar Pita tapaiलाई हाम्रो यो समय तपाईलाई अर्पण गर्दछौँ. परमेश्वर पिता तपाईलाई सहायता गर्नुहोस्. विशेष गरी आजको यो समय हामी जो जति उपस्थित भएका छौँ टाढा नजिक प्रभु हाम्रो साथ रहनुहोस्. एन्ड्रुको साथमा तपाईँ हुनुहोस्. एन्ड्रुलाई प्रभु तपाईले दिनुभएको ज्ञानको लागि तपाईलाई धन्यवाद भन्दछौँ. अनि आज उहाँले जुन सेयर गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ त्यसमा तपाईले उहाँलाई आशिष गर्नुहोस्. उहाँलाई प्रिपेयर गर्नुहोस्. तपाईँ सहायता गर्नुहोस् प्रार्थना गर्दछौँ. हामी जो जति सुन्दछौँ हामी प्रत्येकलाई प्रभु तपाईँ सहायता गर्नुहोस्. God, ask for your presence among us. God, we pray that you help us be tools for your kingdom, Father. Thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. धेरै धन्यवाद विजय दाइलाई. सो अब चाहिँ हामी मेन इभेन्टतिर लाग्नेछौँ अनि आजको हाम्रो यो चाहिँ फर्स्ट नलेज एक्सचेन्ज प्रोग्राम हो. अनि यो इभेन्ट चाहिँ it will be led by Andrew Dai. So I'll ask Andrew Dai to give a brief introduction about himself and let's get the event started. Thank you so much.
Okay. Can I share my screen? Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right, let me move forward. So welcome everybody, welcome to today's event. So in this event we'll be talking about Git, what is Git and what is GitHub. And we'll also go through some of the project that I have created in here, and also like how we can contribute to an open source project and how you can contribute to not just this one, but any other project that's open source in GitHub, and how you can build your developer experience. And like, no matter how big or small, let's see how we can navigate through all those issues today. So before I go any further, let me introduce myself. My name is Andrew and I am from Woodbury, Minnesota here. And so I graduated in December 2020 in my major in cybersecurity. And currently I'm working as an application analyst in a fintech company called RBC Wealth Management here in Minneapolis. And my day-to-day job include mostly, with the way we say is like, we mostly try to defend the openness of our system, server, and services around our infrastructure. We host around 41 public APIs, and we get around 2 million calls every day in each of those APIs. And so to defend the openness, we work on that sector every day. And the tools that I mostly use is as a Git to check out code and look at the code and issues. And for the monitoring, I use the Elk Stack. If you don't know Elk Stack, it's Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana, and Kafka as a messaging queue tools. And also I look at Dynatrace for system services and troubleshooting. So that's my introduction. Before we go any further, there's one poll that we like to do. If you want to go ahead with that, please.
Can you stop sharing the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. तपाईहरु सबैसँग फोन छ होला है? And can you तपाईहरुले चाहिँ यो QR कोडलाई स्क्यान गर्नुभयो भने त्यो उसमा जानुहुनेछ. सबैजनालाई एकछिनमा पर्खिन्छु। ओके, सबैजनाले गर्नुभयो? Thank you. All right, so let's start with this. ल, तपाईहरुको रेस्पोन्स है त। Sorry. 14 जना है, हामी कति जना छौ टोटलमा? 14. Okay, I think that should be every one of us. All right, thank you so much for your participation on this. So Andrew now have an idea of how familiar we are with Git and GitHub. So thank you.
Okay.
Andrew.
All right, thank you everyone for that. It gives me a good idea about where we are and how good we are with the topic. So I intend to go according to the poll that we receive, and if so, as I know most of you are working and we look professional, I know most of the company make use of Git and GitHub for their source code management, and not just GitHub, but maybe somebody uses Atlassian suite like Bitbucket and GitLab or just a source code management like that. So it's a good idea, and I know here are a few students too. So let's walk through it. Let's see what we can do today in this presentation. Okay. So just today's agenda will be like I will be just doing a brief intro to Git.
Sorry to interrupt. But will you share screen?
Yes. Can you see? Oh, no, sorry, one sec. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to make it a full presentation slide, I'll just walk through like this. So we'll be looking at a brief intro to Git and understanding the difference between what is Git and what is GitHub. And we'll also navigate through Git bash, like how we can use command line commands for Git, and just know about basic Git commands that we will be needing for today's project to accomplish. And also in the introduction, I bet everybody knows how to create an account with the GitHub, and I think most of the people have as well. But also I like to go through for those who doesn't know about it, and just familiarizing ourselves with the GitHub UI and what are the functions that GitHub provide for end users, and also how we can contribute to the project. And at the end, we'll be building a portfolio website with React.js and GitHub pages. So before we go any further, let me show what we'll be doing today. So we have a good idea about. So, okay. Let me go ahead. So, okay. Let me ping this URL in the chat box so everybody can go and navigate through the website, what we have and all the stuff. I have pinged the link in the chat box. So this is our NSCSP IT GitHub repository. So we designed it just specifically to build and host some projects and those who want to learn how to contribute to the open source project. And just importantly, it's just for the collaboration and knowledge sharing as well. So here, so this is just a README, like, just saying that we are NSCSP IT and we are interested in sharing knowledge and collaborating and learning. And the project I did was on Git, GitHub, and React.js, and looking to collaborate on different open source project. And here's the email ID that you can reach us at. So this is a brief stat on how many commits that we have done over the time. It's just 43. And the most language used is JavaScript, 57.55%. So let's go through some of the project that we will be doing today. So this is your first contribution is an open project. You can find this on the link that I have pasted. That is github.com/NSCSPID. So this is your first contribution. So I understand, like, GitHub is big and we don't have, like, a knowledge about like how we can contribute to an open source project. Like there's always that kind of thing coming on. And maybe, I will say, like, if you are an aspiring software developer or you are a college student, who intend to go into software engineering. So I think even if you don't have internship, the best way to build a knowledge is by contributing to an open source project. And there's like millions of open source projects that's hosted on GitHub that are always looking for developers. And that is always a good thing to put on your resume and just to list it as an experience in your resume as well. So this is the first repository that we'll be working on. So if you see on the about site, it says a sample React application for the first time contribution. So if you open this link here, it'll say like, welcome to NSCSP, your first contribution GitHub page, right? So here's our social link that you can follow to reach out to NSCSP IT. And this is just a sample project that I have designed, where you have an ID, you have a name, you have a last name, your country, are you a first-time contributor? It's yes or no, and just it merges your name into one full name. So here we'll be doing like, how you can clone this project, how you can fork this project, and how you can build this project locally, and how you can make changes, so that your name will be reflected in here as a data. So we'll do that. That's our first project. And the second would be creating our portfolio. I understand the need of portfolio because I just graduated, and because it shows some credibility, and also like shows the those who is recruiting you. If they see your GitHub link in there, they know that you are working on something, and there's some project that you're always interested on. They can get a good knowledge about you on what kind of project you work from a GitHub as well. So the second would be NSCSP PF. That's also in the same repository. And please note that I know where shape and form on this code, and I forked this project from this person. So because we are limited on time, I don't want to go on full front-end coding and all this stuff. So just this will be, okay, let me open this. So this will be the portfolio that we'll be designing. I know it will be especially useful because, so this will be your domain name that will be hosted on. It's NSCSP IT GitHub/NSCSP PF. So when we make a change, it will be in your name. And the reason why we host on GitHub is that because we don't have to pay for hosting of our website in GitHub. So we make use of a functionality called GitHub Pages. So that's one of the benefit. And how we can, you make use of GitHub API to be able to fetch all the repository or all the project from our main NSCSP IT folder here. So when you create a new repository in here, so you don't have to make changes to your personal website, but it will be automatically added to your portfolio in here. And that is by the use of GitHub API. And over here, this is also fetched by GitHub API. So whatever your name, your picture, and your bio would be here, that's the same thing that will come here as well. And here we'll have some basic information about ourselves. And this is some of the tech stack that you will be familiar with. Probably it's C++ or front end, back end, or different type of programming language or things like that. And here you can add some experience, like, what have you done and like where are you working on. And here's the education section that you can add. So this completely as a whole works as a resume as well. So if you add this link, or if you whatever the repository that you create and the page you create, you can easily add that in your resume as well. So okay, so that's a brief description of what we'll be doing today. So let's start by basic thing. Okay. Okay. So let's start by Git, right? So we know, everybody knows what's Git and what's the version control and what's the source code management. But also just to go through briefly about it, Git is a software, right? It's a version control software that especially helps software developers to work together and maintain a complete history of their work. And some of the functions of version control are, it allows developer to work simultaneously, and it does not allow overwriting each other's changes, and it maintains a history of every version. And some of the there are two types of version control. There was one was the centralized version control, and another one is a distributed version control. So they do not make use of centralized version control as it was before the one before distributed version control system. And the Git that we'll be working on is called a distributed version control system. So just to give a brief visual description of this. So here's the difference between centralized and distributed. So we can ask, like, what's the centralized and what's the distributed one? So here we have a central repository, right? So here's like the main repository is hosted in one server, and like the developer who will be working on just get the working copy of it. They don't get the copy of the whole repository. Maybe they are working on one file, they will only get one file in the centralized version control system. Meanwhile, in a distributed, like here in the master branch or master server, you have the full repository, right? And developers who also want to work on the same version or on the same project also get a full repository in their local end, and and they will also have their own remote repository on their remote server that is hosted in their private GitHub as well, or whatever version control they use. So that's a brief description of centralized and distributed. So that's the major difference. Okay. So some of the advantages of Git, it's free and open source. Like, just to give a brief background, Git is maintained by Linux, and as you know, Linux is an open source software, and also it was also developed by the same person who developed Linux. So they intend to keep this program free and open source, and it's freely over the internet. And we can use Git commands and Git tools and every function that Git provide freely without paying anything. So as is an open source project, software source project, we can download its source code and also perform changes according to whatever our requirement is. And also another advantage is like it's very fast and small, as most of the operations are performed locally. Because as I said before, right? So we'll get the full repository in our local system as well. So as all those operations are performed locally, it gives a huge benefit in terms of speed, because it does not rely on the central server. That is why there is no need to interact with the remote server for every operation we perform. And another feature of Git is easier branching. So branch management, as most of us know how important branching is for our day-to-day development work. Like how would you create a different branch, and after everything get pushed into a master branch, then only the changes will be pushed, right? So branch management with Git is very simple, as it only takes a few seconds to create, delete, and merge branch. And also another feature is implicit backup. So there's rarely a chance of losing data when you are using Git, because there are multiple copies of your working repositories or working files. So some of the it's an absolute basic to a Git workflow. So step one, you modify a file from a working directory. For example, you are working locally, you modify a file there, and then you add a file to the staging area where all those files will be staged and will be prepared to be committed to a main branch or main server. And step three, we perform commit operation that moves the file from the staging area. And after step three, it's step four, where we perform a push operation and it stores the change permanently to a Git repository. So this is the basic, right? So this is the basic workflow or basic architecture that will follow in GitHub. GitHub or just a Git operation, where we modify and where we add these files to a staging area, where we commit, and then after we do a Git push. So some of the basic commands, let me write this way. Some of the basic commands, we use git add dot or git add your file name to add this file to a staging branch, and then we do git commit to commit those files. Here you go message like what the commit is about, and here we do a git push as our final operation. And after this git push is done, we can see our changes being reflected on a remote local repository as well as remote repository. Okay, so this is also just a visual diagram. Like we do git working directory, there's a git add operation, and then we go to staging area, then we do git commit operation, and we go to git repository, and we do git push here, and then the change will be reflected on the main master server here. So some of the common terms that we come across when we are using is repository. So you will always hear like repository or repo or just a repository as a let's say as a word that you'll hear often. So repository is nothing but a folder that holds your files or that holds your project. So it says that in every version control system or Git provides a private workplace as a working copy, and developer make changes in their private workplace, and after commit, these changes become a part of the repository. Git takes it one step further by providing them a private copy of the whole repository, which was one of the advantages of the Git. And over here, user can perform many operations such as they can add file, they can remove file, they can rename file. I mean, they can basically do whatever things they want in their local servers or local copy. And there's a git commit. As I told, a commit holds the current state of a repository. So when you do git commit, you cannot change the file after that. So that git commit is the final, like after you have done all the changes, you do git commit, and that git commit holds the current state or whatever changes that you have made, it's final in there. And after that, you can only push it. However, there's a git command like git reset that you can use to, like if you have committed some files, and if there's some changes that you need to make again, there's a command that you can use like git reset for that. And there's a branch. So branches are really useful because we don't want to work on a master server itself. So it's even master or main, like whatever you want to tell, because I know that they have depreciated the use of word master after like all those BLM things, because they have even in GitHub they have like removed the word like master or slaves and stuff like that. So they have changed from master to main. But however, there's still a use of word master in there as well. But branch is very important because so whenever you want to work on new feature, like you create a branch, so that your changes won't directly go into the master branch itself. And so we can create as much as branch as we can, and it's really easy as hitting git checkout branch and your new branch name. So it's really as easy as putting command like this, which will create a new branch for you and which will also direct you to the new branch that you have created. And another functionality is Git Clone, because so we know that Git Clone is very important. Like, whatever clone, whatever the project we want to clone, like clone just means a duplication, right? So if there's one project that you see in a GitHub, right? There's one open source project. Now you want to work on that project. So first thing first, what you do is you fork that project, you bring that project into your personal GitHub repo, and after that you can clone it. That means, like, currently your code is being hosted on GitHub, right? So after that, if you clone it, you'll get a copy of that repository in your local folder. So that's one of the advantages of Git Clone, and it's also mostly used command. So we often make use of Git Clone and the URL of the project. So this is a very important Git command that we'll be using across, and it will be one of the few commands that we use on mostly like every time. So clone operation only not checks out the working copy, but it also mirrors the complete repository. So you will get the complete, like whatever you see in the main GitHub, you'll get the same copy in your local as well. And there's a pull, right? So there's a Git Pool. So I don't know, like we know most of us have maybe worked on it as a Git Pull, like what Git Pull does. So Git Pull is basically just telling the owner of the repository or owner of like whoever owns your remote repository, just requesting them to just pull my request in. So so it's as simple as just running a Git Pull and whatever branch you want to pull, or just the master itself or main itself. And Git push is like sometimes, like, if there's more than one collaborators working on the same project, and we know that, like, there will be multiple push and there will be multiple changes in a particular remote repository, let's say. Now you need to make sure that your local copy is as updated as the remote copy, right? So before you can do a Git push, we need to Git pull. So Git pull will also help to just obtain the most recent changes or whatever has been done in the remote repository to your legal local. Sorry, I think I got confused with the Git pull and the pull request. So this is just a Git pull command. So, and push is like when we make changes to the local repository and to the remote one, we use the Git command, which is Git push. So these are some of the basic commands that will come across, right? Most of the time, like 70% of time, you don't go anything more than this. But so it's just a beginner 101 to Git. So let's see how we can download Git. So let's see, one second. So this is the website where you can download Git. Please do not confuse Git with GitHub, as those are two separate things. So here's the Git website that you can download the most recent Git software from. It's a git-scm.com. And over here is the download button. So there's a Mac OS, Windows, and Linux and Unix. So I know the Git comes pre-built with the Mac OS and Linux, so we didn't have to do anything if you are using any of those two operating systems. But if you are using Windows, just click on Windows and please go through the download procedure and process that needs to be installed. So after this, after the installation is successful, you might need to restart your computer as well to update the paths and stuff. So you can go through that. So when you are done with that, it will install a software like this, Git Bash. So this is a Git Bash is a software that will be installed when you install the Git download or executable. So if you open it, Git Bash, right? So as I have told before, Git is a command line tool, and there's no UI for it. Okay. So it's coming up. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Yep. It's loaded. So to make use of GitHub, maybe it's good to be familiar with some of the Linux commands. Like, for example, if you do ls, which is the list, right? And if you do cd dot dot, it will go back one directory. So it's very important, like, to understand Git commands. Maybe you need to have just a basic idea of Unix or Linux or whatever Nix as a whole. So let's see. So after you get this Git bash, make sure to do Git -- version. So which will show you like what is the Git version that is installed on your computer. So if you see Git version 2.0 or whatever you see here, if you see this line, that it means that the Git has been installed properly, and then you are good to go and good to use Git in your local computer. So also it's very handy. You can do a command like Git Help, which will walk you through lots of Git commands that we went through, right? Like there's a Git Clone. It's a clone a repository into a new directory in it, initializing an empty repository, and Git add, Git move, restore, remove, checkout or sparse, and there's a log, status, branch merge. So these are just the basic commands, Git commands that we'll be using over the time if we are using GitHub or working on any open source projects. So that's a brief introduction to Git bash. And if you like, most of the Linux like softwares, like if you don't know like their uses, or if you don't know how those works, it's like usually they go through like whatever software name, and -help or -man will give you all this list, like what you can do with this particular Git or any software that you want. So okay, so you can also use your if you don't want to use Git bash, you can also make use of terminal like this. So you can find this terminal. So currently I'm using PowerShell in my computer. So you can make use of this as well. Like you are not only restricted to Git bash, but you can also make use of any other command line tools, for example, command prompt or PowerShell and so on. So here also, if we do the same thing, it will give us the same response. So it's not any different, but make sure to just use whatever you will be comfortable with. Okay. So so that's that. Now let's go through GitHub. So let me do this, and let's do a walkthrough over GitHub and what GitHub is. So okay. So I just found this image in Google, so I think it really explains the difference between Git and GitHub if we are confused. So Git is installed locally, right? As you know, we download the Git, like downloading the software, that's installed locally. However, GitHub, yeah.
Can you click that? It's really small.
Okay. I don't know if I can expand it. I just like the picture.
गएछ हरायो.
What? Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. Let me open the link. Open image in new tab. I think I can do this. Okay, so I know it's blurred, but I think it will be okay. So Git, you can see here, Git is installed locally. Like, it's a software, so it needs to be installed locally in your local computer. So there's a concept of local and remote. So we know that these are the most frequent terms that we'll be using in our development work. Like there is you'll say local repository, you'll say remote repository. So locally is the computer that you are currently working on, right? So if you have like, let's say you have downloaded a project, or you have Git cloned a project, and after Git cloned, let me show you a sample folder. So this is the folder that I have cloned from NSCSP website, NSCSP GitHub, right? So after we clone it, you will see a folder like this in your computer. So when you open this, and then if you are like, opening this in your preferred code editor, and if you are making changes in any of this file after you have cloned it, so this is the local repository for you. So, and like, for example, now, if you go to GitHub over here, and we see your first contribution over here. Now this is going to be a remote repository, because we do not like, we cannot, how do I say it? Like any,
edit.
We can edit it, but let's say there's a difference, right? So there's a difference in local and remote. Sorry, I'm getting distracted after seeing this. So if you get it locally, like, if you get cloned and if you have it locally and editing in here, it's a local copy. But if it's hosted in some kind of website, or if it is hosted in cloud, then it can be called as a remote repository. So that is also the same thing with the server, right? I don't want to go deeply into servers and stuff. But if you are using your computer right now, it's your local computer. And however, like, you are using a VM from Azure or AWS or Google Cloud, and you are accessing, like, you are accessing your VM like this, then it's a remote computer for you. So like most of the remote thing, we cannot like, we cannot control its infrastructure, like, as a whole. Like, for example, we cannot change like how our code are hosted in GitHub. So that's the main difference. But we can change, like, how our project, we can change on different files, we can delete it, we can remove it. So that's the main difference between local and remote in here. So I know that's the most confusing, like sometimes, like, when we are studying out, there's some of the things that we get confused with local repositories and remote repositories. So, okay. Where was I? I was in this, okay, here. And GitHub is a software, or GitHub is a website that is hosted in the cloud. So it doesn't matter which cloud. It could be Azure, because it's owned by Microsoft. So it probably is hosted on Microsoft Azure. So that's the difference between Git and GitHub. So it was released in 2005, and GitHub was a company that was launched in 2008. And Git is maintained by the Linux Foundation, and GitHub is purchased by Microsoft in 2018, and Microsoft maintains GitHub. So Git is also mostly focused on version control and code sharing, right? So GitHub is mostly focused on centralized source code hosting. They focus mostly on, like, like they are the one-stop shop for all the development work. Like they want to be like, all the things and any need that you may come in your development journey, GitHub have the solution for that thing. So it's mostly focused on centralized source code hosting. And as we talk about, it's mostly a command line tool, right? For example, Git clone, Git init, and Git merge, Git pull, Git push, and Git status add. These are all command line tools. But GitHub, we can see its UI. So it's administered through web. And there's a Git GUI that you can use, but I don't think any developers uses it. But so, and there's also a desktop interface for GitHub Desktop. Like you can download GitHub Desktop. Yeah, I personally haven't used it, but because I like using the command line tool. But if you are not a command line person, and if you want, like, it's a UI, or if you want a GUI, then you can surely download a desktop interface for GitHub. And there's So GitHub has a built-in user management, like, how many user can log into your system or source code or your repository. However, the Git doesn't have that kind of feature. And let's see. So Git, like, there's some of the competition of Git is like, there's a Mercurial, there's a Subversion, there's the IBM thing. And now I know that Amazon have come up with their different SCM as well. Now, GitHub mostly competes with Bitbucket and GitLab, as I talked before. So some of the alternatives of GitHub. If you don't want to use GitHub, surely go for the Atlassian Bitbucket or GitLab, as they are free and they provide us pretty much same functionality as GitHub. And as I say, GitHub is open source. However, in GitHub, when you have to collaborate, like, there's a threshold that you cannot reach. And if you reach the certain threshold, or, like, for example, if you have created 50 private repository, then you will be using pay for use kind of payment system that GitHub approaches. So that's just basic Git and GitHub differences. So that we don't be confused about what Git and what GitHub is, like, it's possible that, there will be things like this if you are preparing for interview, or, so having a hands-on experience will give some of the tools to add in your resume, and probably, to be able to talk and how you have implemented resources that is like openly available to you. So that's that. And here GitHub, like, we'll just go through. Okay, let me just go through how we can create a GitHub account. So, okay, so I'm assuming most of us have a GitHub account, and if I just sign it out from here. So you'll come up, if you don't go to github.com, you'll see this website, and you can click on sign in, and you can create a new account. And here it's a nice UI, and you can fill in your information, and then you can submit it. And after doing that, since I already have an account with NSCSP IT, and I have my username and password saved in here, after that you can just sign into your account, and you will be prompted to really, like, there's nothing happening in your repository. You won't see any of this stuff. So after that, first thing you can do is probably create your, just go to here like this, go to new, and create a repository named exactly like this, like NSCSP IT. So it's actually other.
Why exactly like that?
So if we create like this, then let me show you. So when we create, let me show you my profile, how it looks like it. So it's called a very special repository in GitHub. So then they will give you a file like this, like readme.md. So here, you can add your, like, image or your back, like your whatever picture that you want to use, right? For this kind of thing. I don't know what it is called, but like a banner or stuff. So because it's a NSCSP IT group, I have used this cover. And then you can, give your description like this. And it's just here you can share your stat. And here you can add all this different features. There are different features, and there's a different, like, you can go through it and you can customize it in a way that you like. So this is the special repository that GitHub calls. So you can create a new repository, and then you can just name NSCSP IT. And when you click the name exactly as it, you'll see that it will give you this message. You found a secret. It's a special repository that you can use to add a readme.md to a GitHub profile. And then we make sure that it's public and initialize with a readme to get started. So after you create it, you can just click and add a readme file, and then you can create repository. So after that, you'll be prompted to So I don't know how familiar are you guys with the Markdown languages. So it's really easy. Let me go through it. Okay. So let me go through how I have. So this is NSCSP IT repository that I've created. And this is the image that I've uploaded that is used in my README file. And if I click on readme.md, and if I hit edit and look at the source code, right? See, it's as easy as using an HTML. So you can click image source, image, right? And you can get all those like this icons here in GitHub. You can search for it. And then to add those stats, like, you know, the one we are seeing, let me see, like maybe I can open side to add this stat, like, you know, how much you have, how many stars that you have earned, or how many committed that you have done over the time, and how many issue that you have opened, contributed to. To see this stat, you just need to add this line of code in your README file. So here, instead of username NSCSP ID, go ahead and change it to the here, whatever the name that you see after NSCSP ID. Now it's, if it's yours, change it with your name or your GitHub ID here. And so the second line, the most used languages, you can just add that using this block of code, right? So top languages, you know, it's an API that we are making use, and just change the username here as well. So after that, you can just create a README, you know, just commit changes. After you hit the commit changes, all of your changes will be reflected in your readme.md file. And as GitHub says, it's very special repository, so it will come like this. Like whenever somebody goes to your GitHub URL, they'll just redirect to you this page. Like here, they don't have to navigate any other way to see who you are and what you are working on and all the stuff. So that's a good hack for GitHub README. So if you want the source code, please go ahead to NSCSP IT GitHub page and click right here. Just click on the repository, click on the NSCSP IT, and then open the README file, and then go ahead and click the pencil at the side, edit this file. And here you will see like all those block of code that you can copy and paste in your own README file. So it's as simple as copying and pasting. So okay, so that's that. Let's how much time I have? Okay, so let's move through project number 1 that I have designed for today. So if you go to NSCSP GitHub page, if you have opened it, please go to your first contribution page. And if you see this page in your screen, and on the side, if you see this link, click on this app. So this is just a demo app, right? Like I'll show you like how we can contribute to an open source project, and how we can, like, you know, push our changes, and how we can do different things with our open source project. Okay. So if you click on here, it will prompt you to this page. So our task would be, so what are we trying to achieve would be, we'll be trying to add our name in here. We'll be trying to add our last name in here. And we'll be trying to add your whatever country you are from. And if you are a first-time contributor, we'll do if you are yes or no, and then just a full name. Like we don't have to do anything over that. So let's see how we can do that. Okay. So first thing, NSCSP IT, right? So let me switch to my different account, because I don't want to use the same master. GitHub, let me sign out. Okay. Use of my personal GitHub account. So this is NSCSP IT that I have forked before, but for this sake, let me go ahead. Okay, no, I cannot do anything. but since I have already cloned it, let me go ahead and setting and let me just delete this repository. Okay, so I have deleted the repository and I don't have, let me see, let me verify, I don't have anything similar to name to your first contribution name. If I go to remote. So this is your personal GitHub profile, right? I'm not in NSCSP IT group, but this is my personal GitHub that I make use of. Git. So go to search bar, go to NSCSP and click on all GitHub user. So at the end, you see NSCSP IT, right? Here, and it's not the file that we need. Click on go one step back, click on repository, and click on your first contribution. So make sure that you are in your personal GitHub profile. After you are here, first thing first, I need to fork this project down. So I click on the fork in here. Now I'll tell you what it does. So you see, when I forked it, now it's not NSCSP IT / your first contribution, but it's now my username / first contribution. So we have replicated an exact copy to our personal GitHub, because whatever change we want to make, the change won't directly affect the NSCSP IT website or NSCSP IT GitHub pages. So that's the main purpose of why you want to fork every project before you work on it, so that your changes, your modification remain within yourself. And if you break something, you will only be breaking your personal project and not the entire project as a whole. So that's the importance of forking the project. Now, after you have forked it down, like clicking this website, clicking this fork link, and now if you see something like this, your username and this, then you are good to go. Now, what we can do is we can click on code here, and it will give us https github.com, this link, right? So click on https, and I'll go ahead and copy it. So I have copied it, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'll be using a Git command called the Git Clone. So, okay. Let me create a new folder, and because I want to make changes in this folder. So first thing first, Git Clone, and paste the link that we have copied from here in whatever directory that you want to work on with. So make sure that you are in a right directory. You can use make dir command to create a new directory, and cd to go to the same directory. Now I'll do Git Clone. As you see, it says cloning your first contribution project, and it's 100%. So it's done. Now, if I do show me the file that are in this directory, it's say your first contribution. So if I cd to change directory to your first contribution, I see all of these files, right? Like all these files that has been pulled from here. So after we have this, like make sure, like if you do, the prerequisite for this would be code editor. You'll be needing even Visual Studio Code or Sublime or Atom or whatever you like to use. Go ahead and fire that up. So for the Visual Studio Code, if you're using Visual Studio Code, just hit the code in .dot. So this will help you, this will open this project in your Visual Studio Code. Now, since I'm working on an Azure server, and I'm working on Azure server, I need to do it different ways. So just let me do that. So let me close this, my Visual Studio. I need to open Visual Studio Code. I'll be making use of the functionality called Sftp or FTP. So let me go ahead and file and then click on new window. I don't want to work on this one. Okay, I'll just keep it like this. So after my Visual Studio is open here, now what I'm going to do is I will go to the terminal command palette, in view command palette, and I will do Sftp Config. Okay. Command palette, Sftp Config. 1 second. Okay, what is Sftp expect? Okay. Maybe I can go into command Sftp open folder. So after that, I can go into, so this is the VM that I am currently using. And as you saw before, my project that I cloned, it's under GitHub, it's under session, right? So after I'm here, I'll just confirm current directory. So after that, my project will be opened in here. So it's currently fetching all those files from my remote server. So here's my folder and my all the files that we need. So go ahead in your terminal, and first thing would be just to do Git Pull. And as you see, it says it's already up to date. I want to do Git Pull because I don't want the master branch to be ahead of me and work on the outdated version. So Git Pull, and now let's go through a few of the Git commands. Now you can do Git branch. You'll see if you do Git branch, you'll see there's currently one master branch that I'm working on. And if you see the star in front of the branch name, that means you are currently on that branch. Now, because I don't want to work on the master branch itself, so I'll be doing Git checkout branch, and name would be probably update / app.js. Now, as I have run this command, it switched me to a new branch called update / app.js. So it's important to label, the branch your correct name. For example, if you're working on a Git feature, like for example, if you're working on a new feature in an open source project, make sure to add your name as like feature / like whatever name you want, version 1, version 2, or any name like this. And if you're working on a bug fix, make sure to name your branch as a bug fix. And like if there are updates, you do updates like this. So now, if I switch to my Visual Studio here, okay, now what I can do, Git branch, right? So now I'm just checked my branch. Now if I do Git branch again, it's in, if you see the star, I'm in the update / app.js right now. Okay. Now what I will do is I'll click on sorry, not public, go to source. Here you will see table.js. Open the table.js and scroll down. Here you will see an array, like here's a name called rows. And because this is just a starter project and every data is hand coded, so this is just for the demo purposes. So make sure, like, just copy one of this line here, go Control V, last name, I'll do hello world to hello to country, I'll just do Mexico. And FTC is are you a first-time contributor? So if you are yes, just yes, or no if you are no. Now, after I make these changes over here, after I have added this line, right? So I'll go ahead and I'll click on file, I'll do save all. So now go back to a terminal. That's the only addition that you need to do to contribute in this project, okay? Now I'll do git status, run the git status command. Here you see that one of the file, whatever you see in red, it's modified because we have added this one line of code in here. It says this file has been modified and this is a new file, or there are some new changes in that file. Now we did git status. Now what we need to do, we need to git add all this.
Before that, can we see what the change is?
Okay, so changes is just I added this new name. I added the name in here.
From a git command, you can do git diff, right?
I can do, yep.
Yes.
If I do git diff, it will show you like what has been added, or what are the changes that are made. So here, let's see, this is the new line. The one you see plus is over here. It's a new line that's been added here. So you can use the git commands even to see like what are the difference that you have made, or what are the changes in the new file. So after that, you are done with git diff and verifying everything. Make sure to add it into the staging. You're saying like, it's okay, I have done the changes, now it's ready to be staged, or it's like, I want the current snapshot of this folder or this file. So after you hit git add dot, if you do dot, it will add all those files from this folder. You can personally also just do git add and just do the file name, okay, like file name. You can do like this too. That's also possible. But for right now, I just do git add dot and it will add everything. After I do git dot, I'll just go again, see the status. And now you see that there's it's turned from red to green, right? So it says on branch update, okay, update JS changes to be committed. Now these are the changes that can be committed now because it's already on stage level of your git pushing. So after this done, I'll do, now I know that there's no changes to be done in this file. I'll do git commit -m. -m is like, what's the name that you want to give it to, like, what's the message in this commit. So I'll say added new line in table.js file purposes, and you put it under the double quote, and after you do that, you hit enter, and it says 1 file change, 2 insertion, 1 deletion. Okay, this is good, this is good. Now what I can do is, now I can do git push. Okay, because I have made a change in the branch, so I need to make set an upstream, because branch is not the main repository. Branch is not the main one, but there's a master, right? Origin is also master, and origin is the main source, right? Where the main source is hosted. So we need to set an upstream for that. So here, just follow this and just paste it like this once. app.js, right? Now the tricky thing that they have changed. Now it will ask you for your github.com username and password. So I know my username is this, but your password is not the same as your GitHub password, okay? So these are the new changes that they have made from August of last year. So what is the passcode now, if you ask me? So you go to your GitHub, go to your profile, go to setting, and if you are in this profile and if you go down to a developer settings here is and over here personal access token. So you need to generate new token from here, and I'll say demo GitHub. And it's best practice to keep it expire, like 7 days or 30 days. So I'll just keep it 30 days because, and I'll just select everything from here because I am admin myself. So there's no access control for myself. Let me select all of this and I hit generate token. Now, as you see, our token has been generated for us. So you go ahead and copy this, go back to your terminal here. You do Control V. Note that you won't see anything here. Now you hit enter, and now it's accepted, and your changes has been updated to your GitHub profile. Now let's see. Now go back to your GitHub, and if you go to your first contribution, right? So we see update had recent pushes less than a few minutes ago, right? So this is the new update that I've done. Now you can do a compare and pull request. So, okay, I'll just do this. And create pull request is you are basically asking this main master branch to just, please take my changes, please take my changes, or please, include my changes in your master repository. So you'll see that message like before. And after you see that, here you'll see create pull request here. After you see this, now, if you see this now and go back to your code, if you go to source, if you go to table.js, it's not there yet.
It hasn't been
marked.
marked.
Nope, I'm in a different repository, sorry. Your repository. I need to go in my repository. I was in NSCSP. Now if I go source, if I go table.
It hasn't been merged yet.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. So if I go to update this, now if you go in, here's how you can change your branch. Like if you're in master, there will be different branch, whatever you create. You can select branch from here, and over here, contribute. I can do open pull request here. Okay. View pull request with press branch. Okay. That I'm in. It's redirect me to the NSCSP website, NSCSP GitHub page. See the branch, what are the changes in a branch? The branch, let's see if the table has been updated in branch. Here we see the table has been updated in branch. Okay. Now I go to your first contribution to my repository. Okay. And I go to master. I didn't contribute. Go to pull request here. There's no. Wait. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Git merge. Okay, already up to date. Already up to date. But why is it not reflecting the change?
Merge भएर अघिको pull request.
Oh, I didn't get that. Merge banne. So this is the master branch. Okay, app.js. Added new table. Okay. Let's see pull request. Base repository is a base repository. Can do this. Added this changes. Okay. Yeah, here's the new changes. You pull request.
merge.
Okay, only those with right access to this repository can pull. So, okay, so let's do this. So after we have made changes there, let's go to our NSCSP, NSCSP GitHub. And if you see pull request here,
I think you need to push it into original master. I mean the master branch, right? Did you do that?
We can do that.
It has been pushed, but I think you have to approve from the.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it didn't give me that merge option. Let's see. Master. Do this. Get open again. NSCSP ID. So you can set up a config over here, like you can set up a Git config -- global, and if you put a username and email, then you don't have to put this username and password every time you do a Git push. But because I'm working on multiple Git account, so that's why it's hard to switch. Like if I set one global, then I can only use one ID for all of my projects. So that's the reason why I have not set up the Git global authentication for my GitHub. Let's see. Okay. Okay, yeah, for brands. There's no, okay, let's see if I can do this. Open a pull request to contribute, change upstream. Okay, I can do open pull request here. Okay.
How about the high all?
This is taking to me on the master's head view pull request. Has no conflict. Add more commits by pushing the branch on this. What if I do this? If I go in master source, table.js here. If I do some, maybe just let's do some editing in the GitHub itself. To United States, this.
I hope there won't be any conflict while merging.
Let's say commit changes to master itself. Okay, now I can, like, since there's a change in my master local repository, let me do open pull request. So if I do create pull request, update JS, create pull request. Now I need to go to my NSCSP website or GitHub. See the open pull request. Click on here. Okay, update table.js wants to merge from this. What if I do close pull request? Okay. There's no conflict with the base one.
So do you have to log in as NSCSP IT to be able to merge this?
Yes, this is NSCSP ID.
I know, I think you are TDEX.
No, because that's the local changes I've been doing after I forked, right?
I know your GitHub mabani, I think you are logging in as your personal and not as NSCSP.
Hey. Okay. Let's do this. Let's try again. First contribution. Pull request, okay. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, I was logging as myself. So added a new line that we added after, like here it says, my personal username wants to merge one commit into NSCSP IT master from this update.js, right? So the administrator can actually view this page and not the one who is doing like changes. So over here in a pull request, I see one, and over here I can see do merge pull request. So I can just to confirm merge. So it says the merge commit into this. Let's see this commit ID. Now you see like, the Hello World 2 has been added to the NSCSP, your first contribution project. And now what's happening behind the scenes is like after some code is merged in this master branch, there's one action that is currently being running. So now because it's a React application, right? And it needs Node package manager and it needs npm. So you need to have all those dependencies installed, like you need to build the project, you need to test the project and everything. And GitHub Action provide a very easy way to do all those stuff. Like you don't have to hit the npm run build or npm run deploy, and you can just create an action workflow in here in GitHub. So that's also another functionality that I would like to go maybe some other day. So after this, as you can see currently, the build and deploy process is currently been running. If you can click on this one, and you see the build is being done. Now currently the deployment is being done. So we wait for some time. So you can see logs from here. Now it says deploy to GitHub pages and complete job. Okay, now after I see this, I can go to my code. After it says deployment successful, now I click on my website again. Now you see the changes has been reflected in here, like hello 2, hello world 2, Mexico, no, and this, right? So that is how you contribute to an open source project. So maybe I'd like to have everybody probably like do some editing on this source file on this table.js, probably add their name over here, and know that you can use this UUID before as an ID because I didn't want it to use a number, and this I have used the npm package called UUID, which will generate a random ID like for all those different users. Like you see, these are all distinct IDs, so it won't be conflicted one another. So that's the thing I did. Okay, and please go ahead and make some changes to a constant row here, and after that click on create a pull request, and after I see your pull request, I'll be merging that in our main NSCSP website or site, the React application. So you can also navigate here. You can also, if there's any issue, go ahead and create new issue in here. Like, for example, if there's any new thing that we want to do, we'll make sure that we'll update this issue in here. So for example, like, you are working on adding a footer, make sure to add, like, whoever you are, make sure to add a comment saying that I'm working on this one, working on this issue, so that everybody other know that somebody is working on this issue, and like other is not, like there won't be any conflict with other people changes. So that's that. There's also a discussion page in here. Any questions, any question answer, any announcement, any general things that you want to ask, you can use this repository. And probably we can walk through a CI/CD pipeline, like how we can set up a CI/CD pipeline in GitHub itself. It is currently doing the work of Jenkins, like in a mainstream infrastructure. What we do is, like we have a Jenkins who will be doing all this work, right? But this action is like, it's a really good feature that GitHub introduced. Now you don't even have the need to use like Jenkins and all those heavy programs, or have a separate servers and stuff for Jenkins itself. You can completely do from your GitHub profile. So that's why I say it's like a one-stop shop for all the developer needs, and whatever they may come across, GitHub have the solution for you. And go through code, go through workflow and main. So this is how I have set up a CI/CD pipeline.
Hello.
Like, yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but can you wrap it up in 10 minutes?
Yes. Okay. So okay, yeah. Let's see this briefly. Here's a GitHub profile, right? I don't know how many of you are familiar with the YAML language or YAML programming language. So this is written on YAML. So it's a build and deploy. So when do you want to run this? Is when there's a new push on a master branch, and what job you want to do is like you want to run on Ubuntu latest or whatever server, and steps like you check out code, and then you install Node.js, and then you install Node, and you do a build project and all this file. After build is done, you go ahead and write a deployment code like this. So please go through NSCSP IT GitHub pages. I know it's a lot of information, but hopefully you can start contributing one by one. So I don't think I'll be going for creating a portfolio website for this session. So hopefully I'll just wrap it here, and we might schedule a portfolio session on different time than today. Thanks a lot, everybody. If there's any question, please feel free to ask.
मसँग एउटा क्वेसन छ दाइ.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Between push र कमिटमा लाइक त्यो subtle difference के हो?
Between push and commit?
हजुर.
So commit is like you are just saying like this is like file that I want on a remote repository, right? So commit is saying like this is a snapshot. So this is the one file I want. So every changes has been done. Now I'm like as you can say like now it's committed, or now it's ready to be deployed, or ready for ready for production server or anything like that. Now commit will only commit the file, but push will actually push this file into your remote repository. So that's the main difference between commit and push. Commit if you just hit commit, you won't be seeing any changes in your remote repository. Yes. So for that you need to do git push. So that's the main difference.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
मलाई मेरो चाहिँ एउटा रिकमेन्डेसन पनि छ. अब यदि इफ यु डोन्ट लाइक गिट ब्यास कमान्ड लाइन जस्ट लाइक हाम्रो एन्ड्रुले गर्नुभयो, यु क्यान युज गिट लाइन्ड सोर्स ट्री छ होइन, टोटस गेट छ. त्यो चाहिँ यु डोन्ट ह्याभ टु रिमेम्बर अल द कमान्ड लाइन. त्यो चाहिँ युजली युआई नै हुन्छ. युआईबाट नै पुल र पुस सबै मर्ज पुल पुस चेरी पिकिङ एभ्रिथिङ वाट यु निड एभ्रिथिङ त्यही भिजुअली हुन्छ राइट क्लिक गरेर सबै गर्न मिल्छ
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. If we don't have any further questions, मसँग चाहिँ दुईटा quiz छ है. Let's see how carefully we listened. Okay. Okay. Can you all scan this? Yeah, I think some of you have already done it, but those of you who joined later. Okay. So I think everybody should be in now. Let's go ahead with our first question. La. Okay. 12 people. We are 17. La ठिकै छ है त I think. ल सबैजनाले मिलाउनु भयो कि भएन त यो Sorry. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that was the right answer. And I think we'll find out later too, but I'm just saying. Okay, अनि let's see. ल यो क्विज जोइन गर्नु होला है त सबैजनाले Okay. Nice. La. Let's wait for one other person. ठिकै छ. Okay, let's go ahead and let me show you question. Sorry. ल यो चाहिँ टाइमर छ है यसमा चाहिँ छिटो एन्सर गरिहाल्नु होला. How do you initialize Git repository? Nice. Let's see if we did, how well we did. Okay, Git init is the correct answer. And nice, Sila is the winner. Sila is the winner. Okay, and I have one more just before this quiz. So yeah, चाहिँ तपाईहरुले लेख्नुहोस्. What would you like to learn next? It is open text, so you can write something and send. Or अब यो आउने दिनहरुमा कस्तो खालको सेसन्सहरु you are looking forward for? Okay, very interesting topics. Right? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for your participation in this short quiz. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen now. Sheila.
So thank you so much for staying till the end. So I know it was a lot of stuff, but it was all of them were so much important mostly in the coding life. So तपाईँहरूलाई यदि केही क्वेसन्सहरू केही बुझ्नु भएको छैन भने हाम्रो के अरे फेसबुक मेसेन्जर ग्रुप छ अनि हाम्रो एउटा प्राइभेट ग्रुप पनि छ अनि यदि तपाईँहरू त्यो ग्रुपमा हुनुहुन्न भने हामीलाई रिच आउट गर्नु जनी दिदी म Suresh Dai and Roman Dai, we are like the main core members of the NSCSP IT ConneXion. So key questions are भने reach out गर्नु अनि के तपाईहरुसँग के प्रोजेक्ट छ भने र कोही मेम्बर्सहरुसँग कोलाबोरेट गर्न चाहनुहुन्छ भने पनि reach out गर्नु. And so thank you so much for everything, and this is officially the end of the event.
हजुर त्यही त अब आउने दिनहरुमा यस्तै सेसन्सहरु लिएर आउने छौं तपाईहरुलाई हेल्पफुल हुने हैन अनि तपाईहरुलाई पनि कुनै कुरामा हुन्छ नि if you have some experience or expertise in some areas, please reach out to us and we can set up a session for you तपाईहरुको लागि अनि yeah, keep rocking हैन whatever it is in your life. So तपाईहरु कतिजना डेभलपर हुनुहुन्छ होला, टेस्टर or DevOps engineer or students हैन जे गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ राम्रो गर्नुहोस् अनि please feel free to reach out if any help is needed.